The Jackson State wide receiver room is so stacked that it's going to be hard to put up some numbers. But if anybody was going to do it, I'm putting my money on Joanes Fortilien. Oh, yeah. It's locked on HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked On HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On HBCU podcast, your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics, Monday through Friday. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I, of course, am Darrion Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, Texas Southern alum and former TSU Herald Sports editor and current site expert at Who Dat Dish and contributing writer at USA Today's Saints Wire. Thank you for going on this journey with me, making Locked On HBCU your first listen of the day every day. And remember, just because the mic cuts off does not mean that the journey is over. It just means it's time to follow me on Twitter at South Exclusives. Starts with an S and ends with an S. Now, at the end of today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at a pair of Howard teammates. And we're also going to take a look at somebody from Norfolk State. In segment 2, we're going to take a look at the only Division II HBCU player to make this list, as well as one of the guys that I'm most excited about. And I'm being very veiled because I want to try to reveal these as time goes on. But we're going to talk all day about the HBCU players who made the East-West Shrine Bowl watch list. We have 8 guys, so we're going to go 3-2-3. I'm not a huge basketball fan, but I think that's a defense, right? 3-2-3. That being said, the first of our 8 players that I want to dive into is Joanes Fortilien. And Fortilien is a very interesting player to me. He's a very interesting player because I think he's extremely talented, but I don't envy his situation as far as putting up big time numbers. Now, there's a dual aspect when it comes to football. There's numbers and there's impact. And all numbers aren't impactful, and all impact is not shown through numbers. I think that you're going to walk into a situation, or rather walk out of a situation in 2025, where Jackson State's wide receiver room often falls in the latter category. I think they're going to be impactful wide receivers that the numbers don't jump off the page. And that's a very difficult place to be in because so much of our conversations are around the numbers. So when you're talking about Joanes Fortilien, of the guys, like they have Nathan Rembert in there, they have Shamar Savage, and they have Joanes Fortilien. Of those 3, if there was one player who was going to jump out in any category, give me Joanes Fortilien as far as touchdowns go. When you're talking about yards and you're talking about receptions and targets, it's going to be very difficult because everybody's going to want to eat. I think Joanes may end up being the guy who gets fed the most because he already has a relationship with Ckelby and Morgan, and I think that plays a part. So he already is someone who has chemistry. He already knows, hey, this is how my quarterback likes to throw the ball. The quarterback already knows this is where he likes it placed. Like these things they play a factor, right? But at the same time, they're still so unpredictable. At the same time, they are still so unpredictable of guessing who's going to get targeted the most. I don't think it'll be consistent. I really don't. As I go through last year, we had a triumvirate of wide receivers at South Carolina State who they bought out. Caden High had 908 yards with 7 touchdowns. Justin Smith-Brown had 749 yards with 4 touchdowns. And Ionaj Carter had 592 yards with 6 touchdowns. Now, are we going crazy about 592 and 6 touchdowns? Probably not. But we understand that Ionaj Carter's 592 and 6 touchdowns was extremely impactful. And we also understand that he had Justin Smith-Brown and Caden High also on the field with him. So it's very difficult. Everybody can't eat. I know we like to say these things, everybody eats. That works when you're not in a game like football. In life, that works. Everybody can eat. I want to eat. I want them to eat. I want everybody to succeed. But in the game of football, we want everybody to succeed, but everybody can't eat and be successful. It just doesn't work that way. There's only a certain amount of passes that are going to go around. There's only a certain amount of handoffs that are going to go around. You get this sack on one side, this guy can't get it. And if we share it, it's only half a sack now. So numbers are in a scarce supply. So there's only so many passes that are going to go up and only certain amount of catches that can happen. But what I will say is Joanes Fortilien has the chemistry edge. He has the familiarity edge. He also is 6'5". He's also the tallest wide receiver. He's also a guy who led the SWAC in receiving touchdowns last year. He had 11. Joanes Fortilien had 11 touchdowns. And if you had to ask me what's the most replicable thing that he could do, it's the touchdowns. Joanes Fortilien had 11 touchdowns. And with everybody who came into the room, Shamar Savage, Nathan Rembert, I still think that his 6'5" frame, his ability to position himself as a really good red zone threat, as well as stretch the field, it makes me believe that if he was going to do anything well in 2025, it would be touchdowns. I could easily see them get inside the 10, inside the 15. I still think back to that Celebration Bowl touchdown that he had. I think that could happen on a consistent basis. Rembert's not the biggest guy. Savage is 6'3", so he's still someone you can put in that position. But Joanes Fortilien is 6'5", has familiarity with his quarterback, and has trust. I think you could see him be the biggest red zone target that Jackson State has. And if the catches and the yards are too difficult to project, the touchdowns are the one thing that I could depend on. Now, as we continue, because we're not done. You also have Ashton Greyel, and he's an all-conference tackle out of FAMU. And as an offensive lineman, it's difficult to get your shine. As an offensive lineman, it's difficult to be praised because we're not really paying attention to you throughout the majority of the game until you mess up. It's one of those positions. It's one of those positions that we don't care about you unless you're in like wide open space. If you're in wide open space, then we probably care. But other than that, you have a very thankless job. You're right there in the trenches. You're putting hands on people, and you're blocking and open up for the position that we actually care about. But here's the thing. Thad Franklin is projected to be the first team all-SWAC running back, or one of the first team all-SWAC running backs. If he does that, then you're looking at a guy who had good running lanes. And listen, I've always wanted FAMU to run the ball more last year. I didn't feel like they did it enough. But if they are going to do it, it'll probably be because guys like Ashton Greyel have opened up lanes and has been successful. So if Thad Franklin is able to reach this status, he's going to have Grable to thank for that. So I'm going to keep it pretty brief there, because I think that the best way to judge him, the easiest way to judge him, is probably going to be through, not the best way, but the easiest way to gauge what a lineman does is how often are they getting sacked, the team, what kind of running lanes. It's difficult. It's difficult. If you didn't watch the game, you just won't know. Like, that's just the truth, because everything I'm about to say has to do with units. I'm trying to find a way to gauge what he did outside of it, but you just got to listen to people like me, people like Gerald Huggins. You're going to have to listen to guys like us who are going to break these games down and tell you what these players are doing. Simple and plain, because offensive line, you're not going to see pancakes on the box score. You're just not. Anyway. Lastly, Kelby Givens, and this was the first no-brainer. And I think one thing that doesn't get discussed about Kelby Givens enough is the fact that he has been consistent over the last 2 years. I'm not going to say it doesn't get discussed at all, because he was the preseason defensive player of the year going into last year. So like before he even won the award, he was projected to win the award. There was an attention that was placed upon him. But I don't think we talk about his consistency enough, because there was two big changes for Kelby Givens coming out of 2024, excuse me. The big difference is, A, he finished as a Buck Buchanan Award finalist, not the final three, but he was amongst that last 30 to 35. He didn't have that in 2023, despite having a really good season. So that was something that stuck out. Once you're being mentioned amongst the best in the nation, even if it's the best 30, I was just talking to a friend of mine, and we were talking about how many people are better than you in a certain place, because he ran track back in the day. And he said he took pride in the fact that there was only a handful of people who were faster than him. Then he started talking about the classroom effect. Is there a classroom of people who are a part of this exclusive club? Is there a classroom of people who are better than you? And when it comes to the classroom, when you think about it, it's like, dang, in the grand scheme of things, a classroom on a national landscape is a very exclusive club. If you're in the top 30, 40, that's a very exclusive club. And that's where he landed after last season. He being Givens. So, yeah. And then also, in addition to that, he went from 7 sacks to 12 sacks. And I think that probably played a part in why he got to the Buck Buchanan, because at the end of the day, what do people care about more than anything else from a defensive edge rusher, from an edge rusher? They're going to be looking at the sack numbers. You can be a great run defender. Great run defenders get no attention. Great run defenders get no attention. Like at the end of the day, we love TJ Watt because of what he can do when he gets to the quarterback. We love what Myles Garrett can do because what we love what Myles Garrett can do because of what he does when he gets to the quarterback. Same with Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson has 17 and a half sacks. Like, that's what we appreciate about him. Meanwhile, Cam Jordan been a great run defender for years, and he was not discussed because you had guys like Von Miller who were getting to the quarterback at a more rapid rate. And I try to bring it back because Cam, as he's gotten older, I understand naturally progressed his way out of those conversations. But there was a point in time when he was a really strong run defender and he wasn't getting that nod. Jadeveon Clowney, strong run defender. We look at him as a bust. This is just things that I'm pointing out. So he became undeniable with that Buck Buchanan award. And then he also was a more prolific, the Buck Buchanan award watch list or finalist. And he was also more prolific when it came to getting to the quarterback. Both of those things play a huge part in why Kelby Givens got more love and recognition after 2024. I can't talk. I'm sorry. We don't get that together, though, because he was already a 20 tackle loss guy. He was already a 20-plus tackle for loss guy. He was already a player who was going to be a good run defender. He was already all of those things. But 12 sacks, double digits, some things just mean different. 9, 10. Once you hit that double digit, it's a different conversation. But you know what? Let's keep rolling, because another Buck Buchanan Award preseason watch list player is Erick Hunter, and he is the player that we're going to continue rolling with as we continue with Locked On HBCU. Today's episode is brought to you by DripDrop, and when I'm on top of my hydration, I notice everything works better. My energy, my mood, my focus, my skin, even my skin feels better. But getting enough fluids can be difficult. I'm doing this, that, the third. I'm doing everything, and that's why I've been loving DripDrop. DripDrop is doctor-developed and scientifically proven for fast hydration. It uses the perfect balance of sodium, electrolytes, glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half of the sugar of the leading sports drink. I've tried a lot of electrolyte powders, but nothing tastes as good or works as fast as DripDrop. I absolutely love it. Give me that. I always keep a couple of packets in my backpack nowadays because I'm on the go so much. I gotta get it in. Right now, DripDrop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head to DripDrop.com and use the promo code LockedOnCollege. That's DripDrop.com, promo code LockedOnCollege for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard. As a wrap up, as we continue rolling on today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I'm going to need some DripDrop after this. All right, I'm starting to feel the pressure. I'm sweating under these lights, but it's okay. I'm going to replenish myself with that DripDrop once the camera goes off. But yesterday, I mentioned that Erick Hunter was one of the players that I'm most interested to watch. He was in that 4-man group that I brought up yesterday. Now I get a chance to explain why, and I'm excited about that. I'm going to do it very briefly because I think that we're going to give a real Erick Hunter deep dive at some point before the season. I don't know when, but he deserves to have his own segment, preferably a lead segment, because Erick Hunter is a special talent. Erick Hunter is a special talent, and at the linebacker position, I'm interested to see what he does as the face of Morgan State defense, unquestionably now. Because you had Elijah Williams, right? Like the duo of Elijah Williams on that front line and Erick Hunter on that second line of defense, it was a very formidable tandem. Though they weren't right next to each other, we typically think of it that way. But there's a few, I was going to start making NFL comparisons. But I'm not going to. Because I think that would be a little hyperbolic. Because I'm only thinking about the absolute legends. But Erick Hunter and Elijah Williams, they're a little bit abnormal because typically we think about duos being on that same line. 2 edge rushers, right? 1 in, 1 in. two defensive tackles or two linebackers or a safety tandem or a cornerback tandem. We don't even think about a cornerback and a safety a lot of times. Then we just say they have a really good secondary. But when we're talking about duos, I think that Elijah Williams and Erick Hunter were good enough to be included in that conversation despite not playing the same position. Williams is gone now. And Hunter's not the biggest guy. I don't know if anybody, I highly doubt it, but I don't know if anybody's going to eat up blocks the way that Elijah Williams did in front of Hunter. So now he's going to be the guy that they're game planning for every single week, no matter what. Some weeks he might have shared that with Elijah. Some weeks Elijah just took it on all by himself. But now Erick Hunter is the man, and I want to see how he deals with that. There's a different level of pressure. This is his defense. I think that Erick Hunter has been a spectacular talent, and I'm bummed that he missed the majority of 2024. But I remember what he did in 2023. This guy is special. The way he moves is special. The way that he attacks and the way he has a knack for the football, it's special, right? But now that Elijah Williams isn't there, the one thing that's changed is this is his defense. This is his defense. So, yeah. Anyway, let's keep pushing. Let's keep talking about these guys because now we have the only Division II player who is on this list. And it's, I forgot to look it up before I started. Bruno Onwuazar, but we're just going to call Onwuazar, offensive lineman out of Virginia Union. That's on me. I apologize for not looking up that pronunciation before I started. But we're just going to call him Bruno. This is one of the coolest stories that you'll see. He didn't play football until he got to Virginia Union. He didn't play football until the age of 21. So when you're looking at Bruno, when you're looking at what he did to get ready to be in his position, it's raw. It's raw talent. It's raw talent in size. So he didn't come to America, I think, until 16. I think he was 16 when he came to America, and he played basketball. He was a hooper. All right. He originally went to college to be on the basketball team at a JUCO. But that didn't work out for him. He never played. And then Coach Frazier is really instrumental in this whole process. So Coach Frazier, he recruits him to Maryland. He goes to Maryland. So it's not his introduction to football at Virginia Union, but he didn't play at Maryland. So he never played an organized game. It wasn't like he played in high school. He got to America, got to playing basketball, went to college to be a basketball player, ended up getting convinced to come to football, and this is where he's been. He didn't play at Maryland, but he did play at Virginia Union. He's now on the left tackle spot. He's now at the left tackle spot. And guys, he's 6'8". I was reading an article about this, and they were saying how he was 6'10", but that was with cleats on. He's 6'8", 320 pounds. And Coach Frazier wants you to know that he can move too. So it's not like he's just a mammoth who's just long. Because like at the end of the day, there are certain prototypes you just don't see. There's not many men who are built like Bruno. There just isn't, right? And when you see somebody like that, who's built like that, in the mind of a scout, you're saying, okay, what can I do with that? How can I make that work? Because he has the frame. He has something that everybody can't get. You know, like there's only certain traits that you can't teach. And size is one of them because you either got it or you don't. And when it comes to height, you either got it or you don't. We can put on muscle, but I think even your frame limits how big you can get without compromising your athletic ability. With Bruno, he's already 6'10", 320. Let's see where they want him, or 6'8", 320. Let's see where they want his weight to be. Because he was listed at 329. So you know he can play in between that range. This is a player who, as the only Division II HBCU guy who made the list, this is someone who I think scouts will have a lot of intrigue in because he's going to have a trait that no one else will have. And that's size, ridiculous size. Big, heavy, athletic. There's not many like him. Just isn't. So if he shows that he can continue to excel, he can continue to ascend because he was an all CIAA player both of his years. If he shows he can continue up that trajectory, I think I felt the same way about Donkwa out of Howard a couple years ago. I'm not guaranteed that it'll get him drafted, but it will get him some looks. And I wouldn't be shocked if this size, weight, athletic profile gets him invited to the Shrine Bowl. And I'll be there as long as it's still in that North Texas region. I'll be there and I'll tell you exactly how he performs. Now let's push forward and get our last trio out. And we're keeping it, or we're going to the MEAC, not keeping it in the MEAC, but we're going to the MEAC with Eden James leading the list, as well as his teammate, Noah Miles. As we continue rolling and wrap up today's episode of Locked on HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day, making it all the way to segment 3, and I thank you 2 times for that. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't even mention I got my Saints shirt on, my throwback Saints shirt on, because football does come back today. So I'm super excited about that. But let's get into some of these Howard Bison. And I'm not going to talk too much about the last guy. I actually mentioned him very briefly. But that's Kevon King, who had a breakout season last year with nearly 1,000 yards. He had double-digit touchdowns. I'm not going to talk about him at length because we're going to speak about him tomorrow, right? We're going to talk about him and the other 2 players who made the Walter Payton Award list. We talked about 2 of the Buck Buchanan Award watch list players, and Erick Hunter and Ckelby Givens. Malcolm Reed not being on this Shrine Bowl watch list, a little bit surprising. He did make the Buck Buchanan Award watch list, though. So Kevon King will be a topic of tomorrow's episode a little bit. But anyway, Noah Miles. It feels like this hype train really got going. And I don't know when it kicked in, but it feels like I'm hearing a lot more Noah Miles conversations than I really remember having. Last year, he made the all MEAC first team. But at the same time, to me, there was a little bit that was left to be desired, because I'm going through his numbers and I'm looking at, I think, 8 sacks, if I'm not mistaken. You had about 8 sacks, but you didn't have many tackles for a loss outside of that. So if you're looking at him, he's at 11.5 tackles for a loss with 8 sacks, which really means you only had 3 plays in a run defense, or 4, if you want to say that, 3.5, right? 4 plays in run defense. And I want that. I'm looking for a complete edge rusher. But I get it. But it just feels like, man, everybody went from Noah Miles being solid to people saying, hey, Noah Miles is this, Noah Miles is that. I think there's 2 reasons for this. One, Howard was bad last year. You're just not going to hear a lot about players on bad teams. So I think Noah Miles suffered from that, number 1. And then also, number 2, he suffered from Jaden Broughton and Ashad Hall being on South Carolina State, and they were the best pass rushers in the conference. So now you have those 2 gone, and it's elevated Miles's profile to being number 1 now. So now he is more of a talking point. Now he is the driving force. And I think he's a solid guy. I just want more run stops, me personally. I think if you're close to double-digit sacks, then you should also be around 15 tackles for a loss. That's me personally. That's what I'm looking for. But I understand everybody has a different metric. Everybody has a different way that they really wanted to look at this. But, yeah. So the Noah Miles hype train has been going sky high. Let's see if he can live up to that. For me, it's going to need a little bit more. It's going to need double-digit sacks. Or let me get a similar output on the sacks and bump up those tackles for a loss in the run game by about 3 to 4. If you can give me 8 sacks with 15 tackles for a loss total, I'll take that. But yeah, the Noah Miles hype train is going crazy right now. And then Eden James. I'm the conductor of the Eden James hype train. That's the funniest part. Is I'm talking about hype trains. Because I think this has to be the year for James. I just do. It feels like I've been waiting for Eden James to pop for so long. And I think that he's had to sit behind players. He's had to sit behind a guy like Erick Hunter. He's had to sit behind a guy like Ian Wheeler. So he's had to sit and wait his turn. So I understand why we haven't had that big season from him. But now this 2025 feels like the year for Eden James. It feels like the year that he's going to be the lead running back. He's going to be the guy who gets the most carries. I still think back, I think it was his freshman year or his sophomore year. His sophomore year was really good. I think that was his best yards per carry. But I keep thinking back when he had less than 100 yards, but he had a great yards per carry. That's what I be thinking about. But yeah, so let's actually pull up his numbers real quick. Big Five alumni, Eaton James. Eaton James, stat wise, you're looking at his sophomore year. That was the season where he actually had 111 yards, 111 carries, and he had a 5.6 yards per carry. If he can get back to that, the only thing I need from Eaton James, this is the only thing I need from Eaton James is for him to get more touchdowns. That's it. I think that his numbers will go up because I think they're going to use him more. So I expect that to be a naturally rising statistic. But I need more touchdowns because right now he has 7 rushing touchdowns in his career over the last 3 seasons. I need 7 plus in 2025 by itself. He's going to be the top dog. And look, I think he's extremely talented. I've been waiting for this ascension. I've been waiting for this opportunity, right? Like, I think that if he's given the opportunity to be the bell cow, to be the lead running back, he's going to be a special player and one of those possible offensive player of the year type of guys from a talent standpoint. Howard just has to win games. They just have to be a better team than they're projected to be. They also have to have some leads. You can't be trailing all day and wanting your running back to run the football. You also have to be more consistent with running the football. There's a lot of things Howard related, but if they can get their things together, I think Eaton James could be in line for a really good season. He just needs the opportunity because the talent is already there. Now, 2 guys who were on this list, but they were at HBCUs last year is Joanes Gibson and then also Ashad Hall. We mentioned Hall earlier. He was a great pass rusher. He's actually still listed at South Carolina State on this list, but I had to look it up. I was like, I thought he was in the portal. Not even in the portal. I thought he found a home, but I had to look it up, and he's actually at UTEP now. He's at University of Texas, El Paso. So we'll see what he's able to do. And Joanes Gibson is at, I believe, Oklahoma. Yeah, he's at Oklahoma. That's going to be somebody to watch. He was dynamite on the FCS level. Can he replicate that success in a conference like the SEC? If he does, we're talking about a player who could go top 3 rounds. Top 3 rounds, I think, is a ceiling because he's super explosive. But yeah, so that's today's episode. Those are the 8 players. You had Eaton James, Noah Miles, Kevon King, Bruno out of Virginia Union. You got Erick Hunter, Ckelby Givens, Ashton Greyel, and then also Joanes Fortilien. Shout out to him. He's not the Jackson State guy that you see get a lot of love. So having him on this list was nice. Did I just do this? That's the chef kiss. Anyway, tomorrow we'll be talking about some more Jackson State players. But then also news broke yesterday, but I'm waiting for more information that Mekhi Hagans will not be an Alabama A&M Bulldog. So Cornelius Brown IV will be your starter. We'll get into all of the ramifications of that, but they said it's due to academics. Too vague for me. I said I'll just wait until tomorrow. Plus, I already had this whole article and this whole episode planned out. So see you tomorrow to talk about Mekhi Hagans. Hopefully, we have more information. But if we don't, we still going to talk about it. In the meantime, in between time, until the next time that we hear each other, family, take care, stay blessed. Peace.